Happy New Year. Sunday, the 1st. That's when the show goes up. But full disclosure, I shot it on Thursday night. This is a little prelude to say Happy New Year because after I shoot and edit this show, Saturday, Marbletown boys are back in the saddle. I lamented to you last week about the Beeps. Now that she's resting peacefully for all eternity, I can get back out on the road and start gigging. So we did get a call from my old pal Paulie V, the proprietor of the Blind Pig of Fish House, one of the great secret speakeasies of all time. I can't divulge the location or Paulie V would have to hunt you down and do you in. But he called us. I was privileged enough to get the call to design this logo for him back when the pig was still just a notion. And I also got to play solo the grand opening. It's a fantastic spot, and we're really pumped, Marbletown boys, to go up and do New Year's Eve. So by the time you see this, that will have come and gone. So let's get on with the show, and a Happy New Year to all. Nostalgia food. What's yours? I'm not talking about like childhood. I just did all those Christmas Eve things from my childhood, you know, all the fish, seafood, and all of that. That's not what I mean by nostalgia food. What's something in your life that you got turned on to, you never even knew it existed, and you got turned on to it either as an adult or, like, let's say in your 20s, when you're just starting to branch out into the world. You're just starting to get out on your own. Early 20s, just past high school, maybe you went to college. I know what mine is, and I'm doing it tonight. I don't even know what year it was. I don't know if this was when I was at Parsons School of Design in Manhattan, which was the latter part of the 70s, 78. It probably was then, 80-ish, 81, because I moved back into Manhattan to do freelance production art, and I was living down on McDougal Street in, as Bob Dylan would call it, Greenwich Village. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of money. We were in our 20s, working hard. I was doing freelance graphic production, no Macintosh computers, rubber cement. And McDougal Street was fantastic because on the one block you could get just about everything. Greek, Ben's Pizza on the corner, one of the great slices in the city. Chinese, different kinds of Chinese. Szechuan, Hunan, they had different restaurants, Japanese. I remember first getting, that's a nostalgia food, I first got turned on to doner kebabs down there. However, $1.75, Mamoons, falafel and a Heineken, $1.75. Boy, were we there frequently. I'd never heard of falafel. Fell in love with them, love them to this day. Let's make them. Over to the board. Come on, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. All right. I did one thing in advance. I already soaked my chickpeas. These were dried chickpeas. It was 1 cup. I soaked them in water with just a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda for, well, usually it's, 12 to 18, up to 24 hours. I left them because I was going to do this last night. They've been soaking almost 36 hours, but you do not cook them. They're just soaked, and then I drained them out. So we'll do that in a minute. Let's make the sauce first. I got a nice garlic clove here. Gonna take out the green little stem part. It can be a little bitter. By the way, the baking soda, it helps to take the skin off the outside and tenderize them a little bit. So these are not, like I say, we're not gonna cook them. They're not soft, but I can crush them. Okay, they're not hard from being soaked. We're going to put those in the food processor to make our little falafel balls. So let's take this garlic clove, a little pinch of salt, and just give it a little mash down. You could also just mince this up. I collect these mortar and pestles. It's a little, just, I don't know, what do you want to call it, hobby, fetish. And I like using them, but you could just mince up the garlic if you wanted to. But this has remained one of my favorites. It's healthy, it's absolutely delicious, it's filling. Now we're using chickpeas. There was a guy in Newport I used to go to years ago. I think he was Syrian, Egyptian. God, it was so many years ago, but he had fantastic falafel, and it would come out, and it was completely green, the falafel ball. Ours are gonna get green because we're gonna put some fresh herbs in them, but his were just green. I'd never seen anything like it. I asked about him, and he was using fresh fava bean in his, and man, were they good. All right, so now, let's take this. Let me adjust my camera here. Last week I talked about the beeps. I've been in a serious period of adjustment here. I'm getting by, but man, is this house quiet and feeling void. But I'm getting there. Distractions. Anyway, I bring that up to say, unless I hit into the tripod, we shouldn't have much camera bump going on. So there you go. I just transferred the mashed garlic with the salt into the bowl here, and now I'm going to add my tahini. This is about maybe, I don't know, a third of a cup. Should be enough. Man, I love this sauce. Okay, now I'm going to go with some lime juice. Now let me give this a little whiz. And I'm going to go in with a little cold ice water, but what I did is I saved the water from the chickpeas that I soaked. Added some ice cubes. Let's see what we got here. Okay. See how it tastes. Perfect flavor. Okay, let's get our chickpeas into the processor. Soaked, drained. I've got a little onion here. I'll just cut it in quarters. Pull the outer skin off. Pop that in. I've got some, I've got 3 good-sized garlic cloves that I just peeled. And take out, like I said before, if you get that green in the middle, never refrigerate your onions and garlic, okay? You'll lose all the flavor. But if you leave your garlic on the counter, eventually it will start to sprout that green it wants to sprout. Just take that out. That can get a little bitter. And I pulled it out of the other ones. So get that in. Onion, little garlic. Let's get that skin off the onion. And now let's spice it up a little. I got just a touch of salt. Oh, before I add my spices, fresh parsley, right? Fresh cilantro. A lot of recipes like fresh dill in here. I don't happen to have any. I have some dried over there, but I think the cilantro and parsley should be good. I'm putting a good amount of cilantro. And again, like I said with that Syrian guy, this will add a green tinge, but he was using fava beans. I asked him about it. Now, let's continue with the spices. I put a little salt, cracked black pepper. I'm gonna go with some cumin. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Cumin, I don't know. The good stuff. And I'm sort of eyeballing. You can look up recipes. I'll tell you half a teaspoon of this. Now another spice in this would be ground coriander. We have the fresh. You know, coriander is the seed. Some people call the leaves coriander. I call it cilantro. But I don't have I had some dried coriander seeds from what I grew this year. I don't know where they are. So, in place of dried coriander, I'm going to cheat and add just a touch of smoked paprika and some chili powder, because a lot of recipes also call for cayenne. This would have cayenne and cumin and probably coriander mixed in it. Ooh, that's a nice blend. So there we go. We got our spices, our onion, our garlic, our herbs. Let's give this a whiz. See, it's nice and dry. Good flavor. I'm gonna go with a touch more salt. Ooh, that's good. I'm gonna go with some more cumin. Another crack. And I'm liking the herbs in there. I'm going with some more cilantro. The stems and everything, we're pulsing it up. Get it off the sides. All right, and this is our falafel ball mixture. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our mixture, put it in this container. Cover it up nice and tight, and we're gonna pop this in the fridge for an hour, okay? So I'm taking a little break. Saluti, and see you back here in 1 hour. All right, let's make some falafel. I am pumped. All right, what we're gonna do here, this has been sitting, it's been in the fridge for an hour, just lets it kind of marry up, and you know, as I mentioned, the chickpeas were not cooked, they were just soaked, but they retain a little moisture, and you wanna make your falafel patties, you want them to stick together. So they've kind of had time to redistribute moisture, etc. Now I'm going to add just about a half teaspoon of baking powder. And this again will sort of help absorb some of the liquid. We want these things to be firm and hold together. And a lot of recipes at this stage you would add some sesame seeds too, which I don't happen to have, okay? And next thing is, traditionally these little falafel balls or patties, if you will, would be fried in oil. I'm gonna bake them, okay? It's a little health thing. I also don't wanna use up my olive oil. But I'm going to take a little bit of this, just the Filippo Berrio, the regular one, not any heavy extra virgin thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly brush my parchment paper, and we're also going to brush the patties a little bit before we bake. It'll help flavor and also like crisp up the outside. Now a little water helps. So I've got, that's out of the camera, I've got a little tub of water here, and that's just works better with moist hands, okay? So I'm going to take some mixture, give it a good squeeze. I don't know, maybe the size of a golf ball or so, and then press them sort of flat into like a patty. Put them on my lightly oiled parchment here, okay? Is that in frame? Yeah, okay. So, I don't want to bore you good people. I'll do the rest of these. My oven is coming up. We're at 314. I want a 350 degree oven. So let me finish making these patties and we'll slide them into the oven. Okay, I got 7 patties. It's nice to go even because you usually put 2 in each pita, but that's okay. We'll have one as a tester for flavor. Now what I'm going to do is just brush them with this olive oil. Just a dollop. We'll just do the one side because I don't want to try to flip them until they bake a little, which should help them hold together. Fingers crossed. And then we'll do the other side. So we're up to 350. Let's slide them in. Come on, let's do it. Come on, let's do it. 350, bake. Let's pop them in. We'll check them in about 10, 12 minutes and see if we can flip those guys over without them falling apart. So let's head back over to the board while those are baking and get our garnishes ready. Okay, I'm thinking back to my old days on McDougal Street. What would they use? I'm gonna go with some greens. I just happen to have some mesclun greens. We'll go with a little of that. Don't need much, just a few leaves. A tomato. Go with a few, just like slices. These are just Romas from the market. Just get a few slices going like so. And you can do what you want. I'm going with a little cucumber. The tahini sauce that we made is super garlicky, which I happen to like. So the nice cool crispness of the cucumber will cut into that. I like it. So let's cut rings like that, and then just cut them down. And now this may not be traditional. You probably wouldn't see this on a falafel at McDougal Street. But you know, you're at home, you do what you want. You do what you like. I've got some nice arugula blend sprouts here that I use because I also like just pita with sprouts, cucumbers, tomato, greens, and a little mayo, just like salad ones. I'm going to add a little of that because I love these sprouts. And yes, I bought them. I need to start sprouting my own. I was doing it at one point and fell off. So those are going to be my fillings. We'll leave those there until we come back over. So while we're doing that, back over to the stove. So what I'll do now is I'll just put the old griddle burner on, and we're just going to warm these up. We're not going to cook them. Just warm them through on each side. So I'm going to put this on low, as low as it can go, and let those just warm through while the falafel balls are cooking. We'll check on them in a few. And here's our falafel. If you notice, we made 7, now there's 6. One did kind of fall apart, but I used it as a quality control, and it was fabulous. I warmed up 2 pitas. We'll start with 1. You don't need to watch me eat 2. I just warmed them up. I didn't really cook them. I just warmed them on the flat top there. So they're warm inside and out. And by the way, I love making homemade pita, but you know, everything takes practice and expertise. I haven't gotten the pocket to open the way I like it yet. I will one of these days. So let's take, I could have made these a little smaller actually. You know what? I'm gonna break them. They're nice and crispy. This way I get more falafel for my money. Put in some tomato, some cucumber, a little bit of mesclun green, and remember, I'm going with my arugula sprout blend. Now, here's what we want. This tahini sauce. Mamoon's falafel. Let's give it a go. All right, I actually went and unplugged the stove. It's not fair to you guys. It usually has a little bit of a racket until it calms down, but I unplugged it. I'll have to reset the clock, but no big. Wow. I said it at the outset. What's your nostalgia food? That flavor of that tahini sauce with the falafel, the chickpeas, the cilantro, garlic. I'm transported. I'm a 20-something-year-old in Manhattan, riding those subways with my sketch pad. Perfect. Now, $1.75 with the Heineken. No beer in the house. I learned that. This Montepulciano di Abruzzo is going to have to suffice. This is a perfect pair with all this hummus, tahini, chickpea flavor. Oh, there's enough garlic. It works. I mean, Montepulciano works for anything, in my opinion. So there you go. Happy New Year. Get yourself some falafel. Make yourself some falafel. It's one of the great foods of all time, in my opinion. And by the way, the sprouts are kicking it. We'll see you for the next episode. 2023 is upon us.
Come on, let's do it.
Arugula blend scrap.
Change it all to hell still away. Ran together in lonely travelers. Spent the night in Utah, blazing up in the hills. I said I learned that I'll take my time. Friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I've been home before daylight, just not here too soon. Tonight. Attracts me like no other. Something in the way she moves me. I don't want to leave her now.